Given Jamaica's positive direction in the growth department, we now have a country that has finally grown past the ills of austerity and is now in a full recovery.
Jeffrey's Managing Director, Gregory Fisher, sharing his optimism about Jamaica's growth potential. Today's edition of Jamaica Magazine will give you an insight into some of government's work into making Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business.
I had a plan for my life. I was going to be a doctor. I was going to be the first in my family to do great things. Then a friend of mine sold me into prostitution. You mash up my life.
Stop human trafficking. It destroys lives. If you or anyone you know has been a victim of human trafficking, call 811 or 1-888-PROTECT. Be wise. Open your eyes. Spot them. Stop them. A message brought to you by the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Monday, January 30. Jamaica stands to benefit from over $3 billion in investment projects up to 2019. That's according to the Economic Growth Council EGC member Adam Stewart. Mr. Stewart was providing an investment update during the EGC's quarterly media and stakeholders briefing last Thursday.
15,000 new direct jobs times the 7 times multiplier takes us over 100,000 Jamaicans affected temporarily through construction and over the long term.
He says the project spans several sectors, including mining, tourism, shipping, and business process outsourcing, BPO. Existing projects include the $1 billion investment in the upgrading of the Alpart Alumina Refinery, the $750 million Bogue Power Plant, upgrading of the Kingston Container Terminal, and construction of the $70 million Breathless Resort. Mr. Stewart says projects on the verge of implementation include $1.4 billion worth of investments in tourism across Jamaica, a $150 million BPO project that will create just over 9,000 new jobs, and $575 million in alternative energy projects. Future projects include boosting of the BPO sector by over 1,000 new seats, construction of an additional 4,000 hotel rooms by the Charisma Group, Sandals Resort and the Marriott's $50 million commitment to develop 220 rooms, and Sandals' $100 million development in Portland.
This is only a snapshot. When you take it all and amalgamate it and look at what Jamaica's right now opportunities is quite mind-blowing. We are on the cusp of something fantastic.
The Energy Ministry is seeking to avert any threatened disruption in the petroleum trade resulting from a dispute between petroleum marketing company Rubis and the Jamaica Gasoline Retailers Association, JGRA. The dispute relates to the terms of contracts between Rubis and petroleum dealers. The ministry, along with the Fair Trading Commission and Consumer Affairs Commission, facilitated 2 meetings on Friday. The first was with representatives of the JGRA and subsequently with the Rubis management. Coming out of those meetings, a statement from the ministry indicates that some matters raised by the JGRA referred to the need for additional regulations or legislative amendments, some of which are already being pursued. The Energy Ministry urged the representatives to meet and conclude negotiations on those issues that were of a private, commercial, and contractual nature. The ministry also pointed out that should a resolution not be achieved, then the parties could opt to pursue the legal remedies that may be available to them. The National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, has received 2 new tipper trucks to help improve garbage collection in the Kingston metropolitan area. The units, which are valued at $21 million, were donated by the government of Japan. They arrived in the island in December last year and were officially handed over to the NSWMA on Friday. Japanese Ambassador to Jamaica, Masanori Nakano, gave his government's commitment to further partnerships, pointing out that an additional truck is to be delivered soon.
Both Japan and Jamaica are rightly focused on the need to address the common issue of solid waste reduction for the greater benefit of everyone living in our societies.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, Dental Thorpe, says these units are in addition to the 17 compactor trucks bought by the government. He says the first shipment is expected to arrive in the island in another 2 weeks.
That another 3 have now been shipped and will also reach during the month of February. And the next shipment of 3 is proposed to reach in early April.
Government is working on a new national qualifications framework that will strengthen technical vocational education and training, TVET. Education State Minister Floyd Green says the ministry is working through Heart Trust NTA and UNESCO to develop a new TVET strategy to equip young people and adults with the skills required for employment and lifelong learning.
The central plank to our success, or one of the central planks, is the technical competence and competitiveness of our workforce, which must be in tip-top shape to take advantage of the wide-ranging investment opportunities which are coming our way.
Minister Green was addressing a stakeholders meeting at the office of the Prime Minister last week, which involved the Heart Trust NTA and Chairman of the Economic Growth Council, Michael Lee Chin. And finally, in observation of Heart Month in February, the Heart Foundation of Jamaica will be conducting island-wide screenings for risk factors associated with sudden cardiac arrest, SCA. SCA is a condition in which the heart suddenly and unexpectedly stops beating, cutting off blood flow to the brain and other vital organs, likely resulting in death if not treated immediately. The Heart Foundation's Executive Director, Deborah Chen, made the announcement during a recent JIS think tank.
We're all at risk for sudden cardiac death, so we need to know our numbers and our status. What is your blood pressure? Do you know what your blood pressure is? Do you know what your cholesterol is? So we might be a walking time bomb and we don't know.
Heart Month this year is being observed under the theme, Sudden Cardiac Death. Could it happen to you? Screening sessions will be conducted at the Dehaney Park, Harbour View, Maxfield Park, Lawrence Tavern, Rollington Town and Norman Gardens Health Centres in Kingston and St Andrew. People can also be screened at the Landui, Trinityville, Seaforth and Yallas Health Centres in St Thomas and the Waterford and Old Harbour Health Centres in St Catherine. Other central locations are Regal Plaza in Crossroads, Boulevard Supercenter, Tropical Plaza and Sovereign Center in St Andrew, as well as the Sagicor Shopping Center in Spanish Town.
But the best thing to do is for persons to call the Heart Foundation and let us tell you when we will be in your neighborhood. But we do have quite a long list of screening dates, not just in February, but every month we have a schedule where we are island-wide.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
Government is committed to economic growth and job creation, and the ministry responsible for coordinating activities to see these goals being achieved made concrete strides in 2016. Take a look.
Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. It should not come as a surprise that it is in the office of the Prime Minister. It pulls agencies from all over government that are instrumental to growth and job creation.
This newly created ministry and its leaders in cabinet executed a range of projects in 2016 to create prosperity for Jamaicans. In the first quarter of 2016, Prime Minister Andrew Holness established the Economic Growth Council, which promised 5% growth in 4 years. The council laid out an 8-point plan to be the architecture for growth.
It is not another layer of bureaucracy. It is meant to simplify, clarify, and expedite economic growth policy.
A big part of the thrust was to accelerate investment projects stuck in government red tape.
The total investment package currently under consideration, Mr. Speaker, is well over 800 billion Jamaican dollars, with a job creation potential of over 80,000 jobs.
Under the business process outsourcing sector alone, 7 new projects got underway in the year. To facilitate even greater expansion, the Factories Corporation of Jamaica was revamped. Through JAMPRO, $25 million was invested in an LNG-powered plant at Bogue, further diversifying the island's energy mix to unleash its growth potential. The Kingston Container Terminal was divested to CMA CGM, paving the way for increased movement in the logistics industry. Meanwhile, 500 Jamaicans got jobs with the launch of a new industry on the island, wet and dry dock ship repair.
The truth is that Jamaica's market will never be sufficient to grow our businesses to the level where you would see major growth in our economy. So Jamaica must develop a strategy to expand its exports.
JAMPRO took steps to support that drive, including marketing missions to Canada and the United States. The agency also invested in a $500,000 propeller project for the film industry, helped 5 exporters penetrate the Panamanian market, and expanded Jamaica's stake in the global castor oil market. Increasing access to loans was also boosted, with the Development Bank of Jamaica approving over $5.1 billion in loans. The bulk of the funds went to micro, small and medium-sized enterprises in the service and transport, manufacturing, distribution and agriculture sectors. Under the DBJ's Innovation Grant from New Ideas to Entrepreneurship Ignite project, 27 entrepreneurs received grants totaling $72 million to create and expand their businesses.
We're developing the entrepreneurs, we're matching resources with opportunity.
2016 saw continued focus on spatial planning for balanced development. Plans were put into motion for Kingston's boundaries to be expanded and a cruise ship pier constructed. And in December, the pier received its first cruise ship. On the matter of environmental protection, the ministry launched the Youth Environmental Advocacy Program, YEAP.
Young people like yourselves will have the opportunity to interact directly with officers within the ministries, departments and agencies that work on national policies and programs related to the environment.
In 2016, Jamaica became a signatory to the Paris Agreement and produced its first biennial update report under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The island's green economy scoping study was also launched.
It is a generator of jobs, which is a vital strategy for the elimination of poverty and pathway to prosperity for our people and our country.
And Jamaica now hosts the Caribbean Office for the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP. Also in 2016, Jamaica began a 6-year $30 million disaster vulnerability reduction project. And 2.4 hectares of land in Manchester were reforested under the Adopt a Hillside initiative, while 7 hectares of land have been reforested in the Windsor Castle Forest Estate. In 2016, National Water Commission stocks became available to Jamaicans. The Commission also received a $1 million grant to fund a 1-year energy efficiency and renewable energy project. 38 rural projects in 10 parishes were targeted to stem water wastage or non-revenue water. Ground was broken for the Hounslow Newell water supply system at St. Elizabeth. And sewer lines in downtown Kingston were rehabilitated at a cost of $160 million. The Saltberry plant is now receiving all wastewater from South St. Catherine. Under the housing portfolio, 1,066 new certificates of title were issued in the year. Another 668 land titles were clarified.
We'll be emphasizing, without any apology, a program of private-public partnerships and joint venture programs in the housing sector.
Ground was broken for several housing developments during the year. Among them, 760 housing units at Innswood in St. Catherine and 1,003 in Hanover. A contract was signed for 96 units at Harbourview in St. Andrew, and 80 houses were delivered in Runaway Bay, St. Anne. A portion of the $1.1 billion earmarked for the works portfolio in 2016 was spent on river training, disaster mitigation, and traffic management.
We intend to continue effort at reducing congestion in main road network, while at the same time
making it safer for a person to travel.
Progress was made in 2016 on the roadways at Constant Spring, Mandela Highway and Marcus Garvey Drive. The ministry also completed road works in Clarendon, Hanover, Trelawney and Westmoreland. And government spent nearly $50 million to replace the Harbour Head Bridge in St. Thomas.
We will ensure that cuts are repaired within 48 hours of being repaired, and small holes don't become craters because of slow or no response.
To maintain the road network, the National Works Agency established a revolving regional fund, which gives each parish access to $1 million for routine road upkeep. $400 million was used in 2016 to carry out bushing, drain cleaning and road patching in an all-island disaster mitigation program. In 2016, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation ensured that it played its part as the central coordinator of Jamaica's growth agenda.
Prime Minister Holness continued his quest for economic growth and job creation last week by committing to cut government bureaucracy, increasing investment through regional partnerships and giving support for the new Road Traffic Act being debated in the House of Representatives. The news stories are next.
Prime Minister vows to enforce Road Traffic Act, commits to increase the availability of government assets to the private sector, and calls for regional unity to tackle mutual threats. You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Lorraine Mendez. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has promised that persons who breach the Road Traffic Act will face the penalty. He says this will be done through the employment of visible and high levels of enforcement by the state. The chairman of the National Road Safety Council was adding his voice to the debate on the 2016 Road Traffic Act in Parliament last Tuesday.
The new provisions and modifications to the new road traffic bill takes us a significant way in ameliorating the critical issues faced by Jamaicans on the roads and achieves our objectives to align the provisions of our laws with international best practices.
The legislation has a number of new clauses, including making it mandatory for drivers to have a valid license in their possession while operating a vehicle. Restrictions to handheld electronic devices while driving are also included in the new Road Traffic Act. The Prime Minister also told Parliament that the accompanying regulations were far advanced and would address measures such as tire tread depth, operating dark-tinted vehicles, and transporting hazardous materials. At a function Tuesday evening, Prime Minister Holness pledged support for the private sector by promising to make more government assets available to investors through divestments and listing on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
If we want to move from poverty to prosperity, what you need to do is to strengthen the regulatory arm of government so that it can divest itself of assets to the private sector. Government regulates the private sector and private sector produces efficiently.
The Prime Minister was speaking at the opening of the 19th Jamaica Stock Exchange Investments and Capital Markets Conference. He used the occasion to reiterate government support of the stock exchange through incentives. And Prime Minister Holness said government was fast-tracking public sector transformation to ensure that the country continued on its growth path. Mr. Holness said work was advanced to ensure that growth sectors such as shipping, logistics and business process outsourcing were not hindered by government bureaucracy.
It makes no sense that Jamaica is centrally located as very close to all the shipping routes, and companies who want to locate their businesses here for logistics purposes find that our tax system does not endear or support them in doing so. We are literally just throwing away that advantage.
On Wednesday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness was in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic for the 5th summit of the Community of Latin America and Caribbean States, CELAC. In his address to the conference, Mr. Holness called on member countries to band together in the face of mutual challenges. He pointed specifically to security, poverty, climate change, and pending changes to the international banking system. Back in Jamaica, Prime Minister Andrew Holness reacted with deep sadness at the passing of sporting great and broadcaster Lloyd Lindbergh Lindy de la Pena. Mr. de la Pena, who was 89 years old, died peacefully at his home Thursday morning. Prime Minister Holness said Mr. de la Pena would be best remembered for his sterling contribution in the fields of sports and broadcasting. In 1948, de la Pena broke barriers by becoming the first Jamaican to play professional football in England. He later headed the sport department at the now-defunct Jamaica Broadcasting Corporation, JBC. Calling him one of the greats, Prime Minister Holness recalled that de la Pena's talents also extended to track and field, cricket and golf. Lindy de la Pena is survived by his 2 daughters. And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Join us again next time for more of the stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
Developmental planning must precede construction. Risk analysis must inform all our actions. Codes must be adhered to. Construction must be sound. And of course, where construction is done outside of the codes, statutes and regulations, then enforcement must come into play.
It's the last Monday in January, and as we close out Earthquake Awareness Month, we want to keep disaster preparation in the forefront of your minds. Take a look.
Floods and earthquakes are 2 of the most common natural disasters. But unlike earthquakes, which usually take us by surprise, flooding to some extent can be predicted.
But when it is, what should we do with the information? And how do we safeguard ourselves and properties against this eventuality?
Through the use of revolutionary technology, awareness of the possible outcomes of a natural disaster has become more advanced. Persons are now able to use data on location, roof, and house type to create a simulation of what may happen in an earthquake, tropical storm, or hurricane.
The simulation was designed to combine place, type of structure, and event. Because Jamaica is vulnerable to 4 types of events: hurricane/tropical storms, landslides, floods, and earthquakes. But the same building that you live in is exposed to all 4. And that same building you live in will react differently to all 4.
Jamaica's landscape equally sits in low-lying and coastal areas as on hills and valleys. The country is also in an earthquake zone, so it can't hurt to do a little research on all the what-ifs, right?
You'll be able to go inside your house and see your roof being blown off, or your slab roof staying on. You'll be inside your slab roof house when earthquake shakes, it comes down on you. We'll be able to have those types of simulations.
How about the possible outcome of a Category 5 hurricane if you're living in a zinc roof wooden house that is built on stilts in a river valley? So now that these predictions are available to us, just how useful are they?
This simulator is now designed to take all of that information, the conventional knowledge that we as academics know, or the disaster management professional knows, dump it online as we have. Let the developer, housing developer, have access to it and see for himself. Let the parish council person or the development approval authority play with it.
And once they've viewed it, The authorities can use the data to plan areas for development, approve or deny development applications, and build better. The simulator is not just a special effect disaster interactive tool, but one that takes into account the realities of environmental and living conditions here in Jamaica.
And the simulator also seeks to bring an awareness of the impact natural disasters may have on lives, properties, and businesses in relation to the country's national goals.
The effect a hazard would have on everything ranging from the individual to the nation is important, and scaremongering only goes so far.
The simulator allows you to either scare yourself or reassure yourself, but it's based on reality.
Another useful element to this drill is the data it uses. Historical data are planted and come to life through the simulator to facilitate emergency responses as well as forward planning in action.
Knowing where hazards are and knowing where they're not is extremely valuable information to businesses such as insurance. Instead of blanketing Portland as a hazard-prone parish, we can know which parts of Portland are hazard-prone, therefore allowing people in Portland who are not in hazard-prone areas to get lower insurance premiums. You underwrite them differently. And you also underwrite more accurately and properly the people who are in hazard-prone zones.
So, if you have already bought your dream home or are thinking of buying or building, you may want to try a few simulation exercises to test the stability of your home or to find out if where you intend to build is the best place to put down roots.
And that's our show. Hope you enjoyed today's offering. For more, you can visit our website, jis.gov.jm, or subscribe to our YouTube page. We're also available on Facebook and Twitter, plus our mobile app for Android and iOS operating systems. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.